What up? What up? This is Coach Liebs, and welcome to episode 48 of Coach Talk. And I want to get right into it because I think this topic is going to take pretty much the whole 10 minutes that we have allotted for each episode. A couple episodes ago, I talked about my daily routine and the drills we do daily as receivers, because that's been a frequently asked question of mine in the DMs on Twitter and Instagram. The next most frequently asked question that I get is do you have any advice on how to build culture within your position room or on a football team? So I think I just kind of wanted to share the origin story of how WRU started, what my motivation was when I kind of branded, the Wesleyan receivers WRU, how we lived up to it, and just tell that whole story. And I think it kind of will give some perspective on some of the tactics that I used to build culture. I think to start, some useful information just to know that. So I graduated from Wesleyan in 2013, and I love the place. I had the greatest 4 years there. I had an incredible time. My closest friends to this day were all kids that I went to school with, and we keep in touch to this day. I've never seen a school with the alumni support system and alumni network the way Wesleyan does, like just constant contact and support from Wesleyan alums who all kind of support each other's ventures and reach out and try to do everything they can to help and get together and socialize. And it really is a lifelong kind of bond with the Wesleyan community. So I have a lot of affinity for Wesleyan. I started coaching there in 2016 now as the wide receivers coach. And I just come from a 1 year stint at Albany and a 2.5 year stint at Rutgers, where I left Rutgers as the youngest coach in the Big Ten. I had gotten promoted to assistant quarterback coach, had a lot of success at that level. And I had, I slept in the old press box at Albany for 8 months, obviously rent free, and then slept in the facility at Rutgers for 2.5 years, just kind of make these dreams happen. I was willing to do whatever it took. And then I kind of realized, the more I got to know the business, I realized that my dream is not to prioritize football above my friends, above my family, above everything else in my life, because that's really what's required to succeed at the highest levels as a coach. It's just an extremely time-consuming job, and it was something where as much as I love coaching, as much as I love football, I don't think I love it enough to put it over everything else in my life, and I wanted a little bit more of a balance. So I didn't really know what I was going to do, so I went back to Wesleyan to get my master's degree and kind of like figure my life out, quote unquote. But I did know what kind of coach I wanted to be. I did know that I still wanted football to be a part of my life. I just didn't want it to consume 20 hours of my life every day, 365 days a year. But I went in there with a lot of clarity as far as how I wanted to coach the guys, and I was so excited to come back to Wesleyan. I was so excited to come back to my alma mater, help the football team, and also just like kind of show off and what I've learned and give back. I felt like I'd acquired so much knowledge and so many skills. I was so excited to take what I've learned and then give it back to the place I cared about most. So I came into Wesleyan just with so much passion for helping these kids and knew I was going to spend so much time with them and do everything I could to make them into great players. So then once I got there and kind of started watching the receivers work out, I was blown away by how much talent we had. We had guys that should be playing D1 football in terms of athletic ability. It was just a lot of guys who either were two-sport athletes or just weren't guys that had been pushed and coached really hard and held accountable. But as far as the physical ability, like I knew right away we were going to be great. So kind of as I was thinking about it and as I'm, creating my receiver manual, creating a plan for how to approach the season, how to approach these guys, I started messing around with a logo, and it was the Wesleyan W, and I was like, WRU, like, wide receiver U, like that. We're going to be wide receiver U. We're going to be that damn good. These kids are incredible, and I know that I'd rather die than fall short of making them into great players. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make these kids into great players. So one day I kind of introduced that to them. One of the players one day in the huddle broke us down as WRU, and it kind of stuck. But the reason why I labeled us that and kind of gave us that name before I'd ever coached them, before we'd played a game together, they had underachieved the year before, was I wanted to use it for two reasons. A, to empower the kids, right? There are a bunch of kids that were kind of labeled as like misfits, class clowns, they're undisciplined, they never show up on time, and they kind of had a bad rap from everyone in the program. I wanted to empower them and say, no, listen, there's greatness in this group. There's potential in this group to be the greatest that ever came here, in my opinion. And I promise you that I'm here and I'm going to get that out of you. And I'm going to do whatever I can to push you and motivate you and love you to bring that greatness out of you. So WRU to me was kind of an empowering label. But then on top of that, because I knew how good we could be, I thought WRU put pressure on us to meet those expectations every day or exceed those expectations every day. Because if you're going to have the balls to walk around and put hashtag WRU on your Instagram post and break down the huddle as WRU, you're going to look like an asshole if you don't come out and outwork everybody every day and outperform everybody every day. We had a standard we had to live up to every single day. Otherwise, we were liable to be the laughing stock of the league, not only the team. So that was kind of the original motivation, and then came the work. Then came, kind of the day-to-day grind and the way that these kids bought into everything I preached. I'm so blessed that I've learned from some incredible people, which I've mentioned on this podcast before, but Ralph Friedgen, who taught me so much about what it means just to be a coach and to be a man. Anthony Campanelli, who's the greatest motivator of people that I've ever met. Ben McDaniels, who really taught me the technical side of the position and the fundamentals of the position that I still use to this day. So I took all that and then combined it with my own personality, my own love for the school and love for the kids, and it was really a great marriage. And the first year we had a really good group. We had 2 first-team All-League kids. I think we finished 6-2 as a team, but we weren't perfect as receivers yet. The culture was still being built by the day, and it took a little bit. Going into year 2 now, it was a different story because I'd spent the whole first year teaching them how to do things, what it looks like to prepare the right way, what it looks like to play with energy and play with effort. Here's how you finish in the run game. And once that culture was set, now the second year became more about the technical skills, and we could really dive into the nuances of the position because they knew what the expectations were as far as how to prepare and how to work. And then coming into year 2, had a full off season with them, and it was just crazy. Like going into my second year at Wesleyan, we had kids who supposedly were never going to play for us, who they're never going to reach their potential, they're never going to be disciplined, and they were showing up as monsters. I mean, the kid Mike Brewer, who won offensive player of the year in the league. He's as good as any receiver I've ever coached at any level, period. And he came in as a monster. We had other kids who came in and just were physically in such great shape because they bought into what we were about. And then they had invested so much time in learning the technical side of the position that we were pretty much unstoppable. Like we had immediate success. I think we broke school records in completions, yardage, passing touchdowns in the first game of the season. And we just kind of took off from there. But it was a product of the culture we created. It was a product of how close we were, and we became such a family. There was so much love for each other. And that's because we had spent so much time sacrificing everything else in our lives, spending time with each other to reach a common goal and to work on winning a championship, work on becoming better receivers to help the team win. We made that our number one priority. And I think about how do we become so close? Like, what did I do as a coach to kind of enable that? I think it's because of the standard I set right away, is that I was so hard on them right away, so demanding right away, but they knew I was being honest. Whether what I was saying to them was good or bad, they knew that what they were getting from me was real. It was 100% brutally honest, but then they also knew that I loved them because I became a brother to them. I became an older brother. I was a part of every aspect of their lives. I gave them advice, whether it was, the next step, finding the job, whether it was helping them with, in school, whether it was dealing with social issues that they had going on, whatever it was, I was there for them completely. So now when it came time for me to motivate them and push them past their limits, there was never any resistance because they knew it was all out of love, and it was kind of just that now became their default reaction just to trust me and do what I say, and it was a really good relationship that way. But I think about why did we become so close? Why did we become such a family? Again, I set that standard. They bought into that standard and lived up to it. So now when we were in the meeting room, I didn't care how you acted. I didn't care what your personality was like. I didn't care if you wanted to be goofy or funny or serious or quiet. I let everyone be themselves because I trusted that they were going to live up to the expectations I set for your attitude and your work ethic and your energy levels. Those were non-negotiable. You were going to come in every day with the attitude where you wanted to be coached, wanted to get better, and you were going to work as hard as you possibly could at it. And then we would take care of the rest. The rest of it was a process. But because I could trust that they would come in with that mentality, I allowed them to be themselves. So now they knew so much about themselves, became so comfortable around each other that it really was a family, and it really was. We were a cohesive unit that really could almost think for each other, and we're still great friends to this day. I had 6 kids that we kind of rotated in that year who could have, each one of them could have started for any team in the league, and they were all selfless so we could become great, and we ended up breaking every single league record for passing statistics in a season, but really it's the family and the culture that I'm most proud of, and just the love I have for those kids is unlike anything else. So just a little insight into how the WRU culture was kind of built and started, why I started it, and hopefully there's some tactics and some insight that will help you in your own position group or on your own team. Episode 48 of Coach Talk. This is Coach Liebs. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.